Good afternoon. I am Tony Dattino. I am the founder of the USA Memory Championship and the president of Dattino Consulting Group. I've written 2 books. One was for leaders called the Brain Smart Leader book, which was for leaders and how to inspire their workers. And then a second book, which was called Grassroots Leaders. And this is the book I'm going to use for today's segment I want to do, which was when we are talking about the Maximum Memory Mastery online course. We put some bonus material in the back end of the course that I've told people over and over again. The power of what's in the back end as bonus material is as good as all of the modules that are in the front end. And there's one in particular that I talk about that people say, what is that module? What is that module? So I'm going to just talk about it briefly today, and it's called Brain-to-Brain Communications. And when I talk about brain-to-brain communications, there's a strong link with how you communicate with people and what it has to do with their memories. And so when you think about memory and what you learn in the first part of the Maximum Memory Mastery online course, I take people into the brain-to-brain communication module as bonus and saying, here's where memories make a strong impact on your ability and the effectiveness that you have when you're communicating with someone. And people kind of look at me usually like, gee, I don't think of memory as a specific topic that I need to be focused on when I'm communicating with someone. And I say, and that's the reason why studies have been done, published by major universities, why 75 to 80% of relationship problems are caused by poor communications. And when you stop and think about the way we communicate and the lack thereof of understanding how brain-to-brain communicates and how memories impact that communication, it begins to explain why we have so many people with poor communications. So we live with today in today's world in communicating with people is texting. And I cannot tell you how many people I've coached, counseled, conferred with, refereed that misinterpreted text messages. And if you step back and think about communicating in a text message, how do you take the words you put into a text and put any level of emotion attached to it? Or put an emotion in it that's not intended or misinterpreted? So one of the problems we have with texting or emailing for that matter is there's no emotional context to a message other than the interpretation of the person receiving it based on what? Their memories and their experiences with you, the texter. So the textee gets it and then says, oh, I know Tony, and therefore when he texted this, I can just imagine what his emotions were, or his excitement, or his enthusiasm, or his frustration, and therefore they fill in the emotional context of a text message, which I rarely do because I'm a pick up the phone guy and let's have a good conversation and let's have a good dialogue over whatever it is we're talking about, so we can brain-to-brain communicate so that the intention of communication is carried out and followed through with an action, and we don't leave people with the wrong messaging on either side of the communication. That's one lesson. The other one that's important is in communication, we listen for what we call key words. And so I'd like to give my audience tonight an experience or an exercise to do on keywords. And I'd like you to do this with family, and then when we're back on tomorrow evening, send me some notes on this and tell me how this exercise worked out, because when people first hear it, they think it's a silly exercise, but it clearly demonstrates brain-to-brain communication. So what do we mean by keywords? Studies have been done that for about every 10 words that we speak or we write, one word kind of latches into our brain, and that's the word we use for interpretation to bring context and comprehension to whatever it is the conversation is all about. So I do an exercise in my organizational consulting work on brain-to-brain communication and talking about memories and how they impact communications and how life experiences impact. So here's the exercise I'd like you to do, and then you can send me some notes on this. It'd be fun. Words are the communication tools that we use for most cases. If we now look at facial expressions and body language, that's the second part of it. So if we put those two together, oh boy, pow, but it's still the words that we speak and how they're interpreted. So here's what I want you to do. Take a circle tonight with your family members if you're at dinner. Draw a circle. Just draw a circle around it, and in the middle of that, write the word money, M-O-N-E-Y. So circle, M-O-N-E-Y. And then off that circle, draw 6 spokes. 1 o'clock spoke, a 3 o'clock spoke, a 5 o'clock spoke, a 7 o'clock spoke, a 9 o'clock spoke, and an 11 o'clock spoke. And ask the people around the table to put one-word thoughts that go through their mind when they hear the word money. Now that's the first part of the exercise, because what you've done is you've gotten people to look at the word money and put their one-word thoughts around the circle, which is now telling you what? Based on their memories of the word memory and the context that's been brought to it from their life experiences, they will put down their 6 one-word responses to a key word that we've been talking about quite a bit over the last couple of months, which is where will we get the money to pay for our rent, our foods, our car payments, our health insurance. So money's been a very hot topic over the last several months as unemployment has gone up and jobs are there, not jobs are there, and families are struggling. And so what I want you to do is put the word money into that circle and get your family members, each of them have a different piece of paper, obviously, and it's not a conversation around the words until after the exercise is done. But here's what happens. You're going to put the word money and write one word on each. Keep your responses to yourself. Then, when you're all done with that, by the way, I always give people 1 minute to do this exercise so you capture their spontaneous thoughts. So it's a 1-minute exercise. And when that exercise is done, I want you to have one person be the official scorekeeper. So start with mom or dad as the scorekeeper and read off their words one at a time and run the table to see how many people at the table have exact matches to the word that it was mom or dad, who the scorekeeper had. And keeps tally on how many of the other members sitting around the table matched it in the exact same way. Now, I put a note out here to you right now, so how do you think that's going to work out? So, example, you have 4 people sitting at the table. Mom or dad wrote their 6 words down on money. Of their 6 words, how many words do you think all 4 members are going to associate, we call that associate, to the word money, that is the exact same match? Meaning, money, I think of money, and I think of bills. So money, bills, money, rent, money, bank. So how many people around the table are going to have those exact words as a match going around the 6 single words? And I'm going to let you find out, and you can tell me what you conclude from this exercise, because it's one of the most impactful things you can do at a dinner table that could have a dramatic impact on how we communicate with one another. And now if you take that lesson from the dinner table and bring it to your work, bring it to your clients, bring it to customers, bring it to other relationships you have, you can begin to understand why sometimes we have this giant mismatch, this miscommunication. Because the words that you're going to put around that circle on those 6 spokes are all going to be based on your memories of how you interpret and think about the word money. at a time you're having this conversation. And so life experiences, another word for memory, comes into play in those 60 seconds where you're making those spokes come together so that when the dinner table talks about the word money, all four members around it are in the same boat, in the same alignment, having the same comprehension over a word that we are using all over day after day after day. And I'll let you find out from that exercise what happens. And by the way, when you change the word money, you could change that center word to any other key word that you use in your family dialogue that you wish to have, and see if it makes a difference. So maybe you want to put the word vacation in the middle of that. If we're planning vacations or not, put the word vacation. Maybe you can put the word chores, and have the family members put their links and their comprehension over the word chores and what comes to their mind when they hear those key words. So alter that, have some fun with it, and send me some notes on this. You can send them back through. I'm learning now how to use my notifications and read my notifications back through Facebook. So I'm getting better at that. Or send me an email, adottino@aol.com. This is a fun exercise. By the way, you could put love in the middle of that. You could put mom in. I mean, you can vary this exercise in so many different ways and have a great learning and a lot of fun at the same time. This comes out of my book, Grassroots Leaders. But more importantly, the detailed segment on this is in the back end of the Maximum Memory Mastery online course. And people tell me it is by far the best part of the whole program, which is kind of backwards. But it was bonus material that we put in because so many people have heard me talk about it and teach it, suggested you ought to have that in your online course. And so we added it as bonus material in the back end of the Maximum Memory Mastery Online. And if anybody gets there and goes through that and says this was not worth it, send me an email. We'll get you a refund on your money for the course. So till tomorrow, today is Tuesday, so this was my 3 o'clock spot. We're back on, and I did early today because I've got a couple of Zooms coming up starting at 3, so I want to get these in every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then do Saturday afternoon. So have a good evening. It's ADOTTINO. Listen to a little bit less news, stop following the numbers, and hopefully we'll all feel a whole lot better.